Hello, Scorpios. This is your June 2020 Mercury Retrograde reading. As mentioned in the introductory video, I strongly feel this particular cycle has a lot to do with emotional reconciliation. It's about getting back in touch with ourselves so that we can emerge stronger at the end of the cycle. Let's face it, the first 6 months of this year have been an incredible challenge for all of us. There's so much going on globally, and it's possible that you've gone through a lot of personal challenges yourself that have been difficult to deal with. Most folks see Mercury retrograde as that period where everything just sort of goes haywire. The communication between you and your friends, everything gets mixed up. People accidentally get hurt when that wasn't the intention. Communications get lost in the shuffle. Stuff breaks. But I really do feel that there's an opportunity for all of us to come out of it and grow from it as well and emerge in a much stronger state than we've been in recently. For you guys, I chose the Under the Roses Lenormand deck. It's a little bit of a darker themed deck, but it felt appropriate for this particular sign. I like the imagery in it, and it really stands out to me. One thing to note about me is I don't necessarily read things from a traditional standpoint. I do tend to change definitions and switch things around. And anybody else that dabbles in this or works in this industry, I would strongly encourage you to do the same thing. It's incredibly important for you to trust your own instincts, to trust your own intuition and the gut hits that you get in particular scenarios. Just never be afraid to bend or step outside of the so-called rules. Limitations make no sense to me in this type of work. It's super counterintuitive. But I'm just going to go ahead and shuffle these up a little bit and we'll see what pops out. I'm not a huge shuffler. What we have right here in the middle is we have the snake. Now, sometimes in a relationship type reading, the snake means the other woman, which is never really a good sign, or the other person involved in the relationship. But in this, we're going to say that this snake is all about deceitful thoughts and deceitful feelings and maybe slithering around in the shadows and being a little bit too sneaky. And then over here we have the anchor. The anchor is all about us getting really stable again and getting into a good spot where, we feel rock solid, we feel great about ourselves. Now the lady over here, since this is more of a general reading, we're going to look at that as either the male or the female. Whoever's looking at it, just translate that into who you are. And then we'll throw out some columns here as well. Now up here at the top, we have the rider. The rider is often about some type of message coming in. It's about movement, but I would see this in more of a metaphorical sense. You're moving toward stability. You're going to find a way to get yourself into this stable state. And then down here at the bottom, we have the tower, or as they call it in this particular deck, the clock tower. Usually the clock tower or the tower is about isolation. Sometimes it's about big buildings. But to me, in this one so far, based on what I'm seeing, I would see this more as time. So basically, from right off the get-go, I think in order to reach this level of stability, it's just going to take some time ultimately. We're going to ride through this whole cycle, but it's going to take us a while to get to where we want to be. And I'm going to throw down some more cards on this for you as well. I first learned about this particular spread from another reader here, and I find her absolutely brilliant. Her name is Layla, but I do read things a little bit differently. Again, I think that's important for everyone to do. You have to trust your gut hit on things. And bear with me, my OCD tends to take over. I have to have things laid out in a very specific way. Now this box around it sort of lets us know about the forces acting on this whole cycle for us. We have the ship. The ship is always about movement. Sometimes it actually just means like a boat, but I don't think that's really applicable in this particular instance. We have the sun. The sun is an absolutely fantastic card to see. We have the crossroads. The crossroads, sometimes it means we're making choices. We don't know if we're going to choose between path A or path B. But in this particular instance, we're going to look at this as moving ourselves down a new road in order to achieve this level of success up here with the sun. And then we have the tree. The tree is all about, well, sometimes it's about family. Sometimes it's about health. But we're going to look at that as more of our overall well-being for this period, because ultimately, again, it's really important to get ourselves back in a state where we feel really good about who we are. Now, what's nice about this particular spread is besides the snake over here, I really don't see a lot of challenges for Scorpio for this particular cycle, besides the fact that it's going to take a little bit of time. But let's go through this a little bit more. I want to look at these diagonals here. Basically, when you see the ship with the rider up above it, that means you're going to be taking a journey to get stable again and feel great about everything, about who you are. And in order to do that, it's going to require you to take some turns down some new roads. It's going to require you to step outside of your comfort zone a little bit and just do things that sort of help you get back out there if you're able to. An opportunity to mingle, an opportunity to go do things that you normally wouldn't do. Now, they always say during Mercury retrograde, you're not supposed to go try new things. You're not supposed to fly to new places and things of that sort. That's the type of stuff that I don't really buy into. I mean, there's a chance your flight would get delayed, but I strongly believe this means you need to travel to somewhere new. I mean, this could be as simple as going to a park that you haven't been to before, or going to a venue that you've never been to before, depending on what's open in your area. And then we also have the tree, the anchor, and the sun. That means your well-being at the end of the cycle, it should be stable, it should be feel rock solid for you, and the sun's going to be shining on you. And when we look at what's over here on the right, we see the sun that's just shining right on top of this road. That's letting you know that once you move yourself down this path or venture to something that's a little bit different, you're going to be in a good spot over here. The sun's going to be on you. You're going to feel great about who you are, and you're going to be traveling down a new road. Now, it's just going to take, like I mentioned, a little bit of time for you to get to that spot. It doesn't mean that you're going to, on the first day of Mercury retrograde, you're going to go to a new park, come back home and feel awesome. It's going to require you to do some trial and error. But ultimately, the message that's coming through here is just to get yourself to try something different. Step outside of your comfort zone a little bit and do something new. The rider also sometimes means new people that are coming into your life, so it's possible that you can make a new connection. They always say, don't start romantic relationships and things like that during this particular cycle either. I don't see anything in here that's really romantic. I mean, it could happen, but that's just basically letting you know while you're on this travel or this movement that you're taking, it is possible for you to run across a new person that's also going to bring you a lot of success. That could also be seen as a mentor or just somebody that comes into your life that has something to say to you that sort of inspires you. It helps you move forward. It helps you let you know intuitively that you're moving down the right path. And I think that's a great thing to see. But let's face the challenge here too. With this snake over here, you have to make sure that the actions you're taking are not all in the shadows. It's going to be necessary also to step outside of that comfort zone and be a little less cryptic during this period. It's probably going to feel a little bit uncomfortable to be a little bit more social and a little bit more open, but I would encourage you to give it a try. I think it's absolutely necessary for your particular sign for this cycle. Because I know for me, for example, I'm a Scorpio rising, but I like to hide in the shadows sometimes. I'm the behind the scenes guy, honestly, who just likes to take care of things and not really be forward facing in the public. It's never really been my thing, but it's just simply going to require you to step outside of that zone a little bit. Now, also here, when we look at the snake and the tree, surprisingly, there's sort of a health message in there too. I mean, it might sound a little bit off, but sometimes the snake has something to do with your digestive system as well. So make sure that your nutrition is on point. I think that's going to be imperative for you too. One thing I've noticed with a couple of the other readings that I did is, so many of us spent our time in isolation that we might have let ourselves go a little bit. We might have picked up some bad habits that weren't exactly the best for us. So just look at the amount of time that you've been putting into your own well-being and pay attention to your diet too. I feel that's important. Now, this travel that we have up here, ultimately, if we look at just these different aspects of this square, the ship and the sun, we're going to be traveling towards success. That's a really, really good message. And then our health down here, or our overall well-being, it's going to just propel us down this new road. We're going to feel great about everything that's going on in our lives. I'm not going to say everything's going to be absolutely picture perfect. I mean, that would be really, really irresponsible for me to do so. But this whole thing, again, is just really based around getting yourself back into a really, really good emotional place. This doesn't mean you have to share every emotion and step outside of your comfort zone that far, but it's really about just taking a new chance. It's about being a little bit more open and less in the shadows over here. Now, there's another message with this snake too, is to make sure that nothing comes up and bites you. I would also see this snake as something that can come up unexpectedly and just sort of bite you, run off. And it's really, really easy for behavior like that to send us back into our shadow where we feel really comfortable, or send us back into surroundings where we feel basically safe, I guess would be the right word to use with that. But if that does happen, if this intermittently jumps up, what you need to tell yourself is, you know what? I'm going to keep pushing through because I know I'm going to get to a position where I feel really stable. This movement that I'm doing, this journey that I'm taking is going to lead to a very, very bright place. It's going to push me down a new road, and ultimately I'm going to get to where I want to be. Again, not to go over the same three cards, but what really, really stands out to me is this particular diagonal right here. Because we already read it this way, but if we look at sun, anchor, and tree, that's also saying toward the end of the cycle, as long as we risk and take some new chances, that success that we have, it'll be stable, and it's also going to shine down on our overall well-being. It's really, really going to put us in a good position going forward to tackle the remainder of the year. And I think that's really, really critical. Now, let's also look at some of the other messages that are in here. Honestly, I could probably spend 2 hours just on this particular layout, but I'm just trying to hit the points that make the most sense to me. We also see the rider, the sun, and the lady, or just the person who represents you for this cycle. Again, that means whoever this person is, or if new people come in and offer you information, they're going to shine the light on you. That's going to make you feel great. And then we have the person, the crossroads, and the clock tower. Might be a little bit difficult to make this decision to go down this new road initially, but you need to keep telling yourself it's going to result in me feeling more anchored with my health and my well-being, and it's going to get me into the right spot. And then we also have let's look at the snake, the tree, and the time. We're going back down this way. So again, there might be things that come in and bite at you, and it might happen more than once. It might pop in a few different times. Push through it. Don't let it get to you. Because ultimately, as I mentioned, we're going to get to this place where we just feel great. Our well-being is in order. We have the sun shining on us, and we're going to emerge from this cycle feeling just tremendously better about who we are, as long as we remember the importance of taking chances. And if you found that this was helpful, please leave a comment below. I'm still fairly new to this. I'm not 100% sure what all I want to do with this yet, but I do hope it was beneficial for you, and I wish all of you a great upcoming Merc.